Yes. Uh-huh. Just so you know, for every attorney that has any knowledge of this ransom and reward, yes, of issuing court orders without any rights enforced, yes, I'll sue every one of you, attorneys. You have an obligation to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And when you allow for courts to issue court orders without any of the rules or requirements or rights, yes, there's what's known as capital punishment. The death penalty. Now, I was reading this, the use of capital punishment. They were hanged or beheaded. Ouch! During the French Revolution. Yeah, the guillotine, the beheading machine. Now, Gregg versus Georgia Supreme upheld the capital punishment sentence. Yes. Now they said, while I was reading this, no, it's Furman versus Georgia, 1972. Cruel and unusual punishment. Now let's think about cruel and unusual punishment. I wasn't in Squim, yes, but you dismissed the case saying I was incompetent, yes. I wasn't in Brennan, and you dismissed the case saying I was incompetent, yes. You said we were going to have a cell hearing where allegedly I had a mental illness, yes. hmm hmm I was delusional, Phyllis. You know, I looked up mental illness in the encyclopedia. I find that it's cruel and unusual punishment, yes, to not admit exonerating evidence. I think it's cruel and unusual punishment to obligate mental health evaluations when you do have the evidence that a person didn't commit a crime. Yeah. Now, I've talked about this before, but I think it's important to reiterate, yes, that all your restoration laws and all your mental health evaluations, yes, without rules, rights, or the enforcement, yeah, of the actual requirements of the law. So, see, this mental, mm. It's kind of interesting. They said that, well, capital punishment is cruel and unusual punishment, yes. But I'm sitting here in the library because you don't think it's cruel and unusual punishment to refuse to enforce my custody rights, to refuse to enforce my false light rights, to refuse. See, mental illness, delirium, schizophrenia. And then there's what's known as delusion, is a false belief that a person maintains in spite of evidence that proves it untrue. Yes. Now you remember that persecutory delusion, Phyllis? Yes. Well, let's look at the evidence. Yes, because you say the evidence is untrue. I have a false belief as a person that I've been maintaining for the last 8 years, in spite of the evidence that proves that it's untrue. You know, Phyllis, in 2011, they issued a protection order where I wasn't a resident of the state of Washington. Now, I would say it's false light. A tort lawsuit? Yes. For any of these mental health evaluations, class action, where the state used a mental health evaluation to say that somebody was schizophrenic, yes, bipolar, or delusional. Now, when I know I wasn't in Squim because I wasn't, yes, and I know I didn't commit a crime, yes. When you refuse to exonerate a person, it puts the individual in a false light, where the public thinks I'm delusional. They think I'm crazy. See, I keep putting these videos on YouTube. You know, if I went through the IP addresses of those that have been watching these, even if it was one individual, it still proves the tort liability, yes, of using mental health evaluations when you have the evidence that a person didn't commit a crime. You said it wasn't a miscarriage of justice, Judge Porter. Well, I'm going to be the plaintiff in all of those that got arrested for the restraint. Now, you arrested me, yes, in Squim, Washington. For failure to appear. When I responded, what should a citizen respond? Did you think I was delusional? Yes. For responding? Yes. I like to have notice from the state of jurisdiction. When you only gave me 2 judicial days, did you think I was delusional for not realizing what you were doing? Now, I would say it's cruel and unusual punishment for not only obligating me to go to court hearings, but to say that I am schizophrenic and bipolar for knowing I wasn't in Sequim, Washington. Now, there's one of these false light decisions of the court where you say that oh, I have a false belief. Yeah, I'm delusional for thinking that I didn't commit a crime when I was in Port Angeles, Washington. I'm delusional for thinking that I wasn't in Brennan, Washington when I was sitting in front of the Masonic Temple. Let's say I sued the police department for tort lawsuits. In fact, every police department. They had an obligation to arrest those, yes, that present me. Well, why don't you get me every cop in every fucking police department right now? Tort lawsuits for every city of the United States that doesn't understand what the fuck you say.